Yeah, cool.
Yeah. Okay. Hey, everyone. So love to know a little bit, first of all, about you all. So if you want to put in the chat, just let me know who you are, where you're from, and what if you know, if you're running a SaaS or working in a SaaS company, just let us know what your product is. And that will really help me as I'm talking through onboarding to think of each of you in terms of, you know, what your challenges are and what you're working on, right? So I'll tell you a little bit about me. I'm a product designer by trade. So I've been working professionally in product design for around 15 years. And in the last, say 10 years, I've been focused on SaaS, designing software products. And I founded UserActive. We're an agency that runs product design for software companies. So we run design sprints, and basically we lead thinking on, you know, best practices for product design, how to make sure that users are getting value from the product, how to make sure that the product meets their requirements and their needs, and that they essentially get value from it, you know, and they're successful with the software. So we like to, you know, we like to talk about a lot of the biggest topics in the product experience, and of course, one of those is product onboarding. So today I'm going to talk with you about how to deliver exceptional product onboarding right there within your SaaS, you know, from the moment a user signs up. Okay, so okay. So is it cool if I jump into chat as well as I go? Because I'll just interact with some of you as you go. So we've got Gareth, struggling with managing and finishing onboarding processes. Great stuff. Do you want to tell us a bit more about that, Gareth, quickly? Just is that for users finishing the process, or for you implementing them and having them up and running in the product?
I think it's both. I think, you know, we've experienced unbelievable growth the last couple of years, which is great. We're getting bigger and bigger customers, but it seems like sometimes we're still onboarding customers, you know, 6 months later. It's supposed to be about a 30, 45-day process. It is a very involved process. So we're helping e-commerce companies distribute their products across different channels like Amazon, Walmart, etc. All of those have their own rules. All of our customers have, I would say, you know, relatively unique kind of requirements. There's certainly 80, 90% commonality. There's always something that needs customizing. And so I think as a team, we're trying to get better at managing the whole process, setting expectations, being clear about milestones, defining what a finished onboarding looks like. But as always, we can all get better.
Okay. And could you just tell me quickly what the product is and what it does?
Yeah, sure. So it's a system that allows e-commerce brands, like if you take a RBX, for example, which is an athletic leisure wear brand over here, that's one of our bigger customers. So they need to sell on Amazon, Walmart, eBay, their own sites. Maybe they have multiple warehouses, they have multiple shipping partners. We're kind of the glue to all of that. So they keep their product catalog with us, tons of information and assets, as you can imagine. And then we figure out how best to get it to all of these different channels or marketplaces on the web.
Neat. Okay. That sounds like it simplifies that process of managing all those channels.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. Thanks for that, Gareth.
Sure.
Okay. So Dora, Director for Client Success, responsible for the client journey, managing onboarding new clients, and you have an automated software focused on the legal market. That's a good tech growth sector, legal tech. Fantastic. What's the biggest challenge for you, Dora?
I think similar to Garrett, making sure that we get our clients from onboarding to what we call steady state. They're done. They'll just continue to be customers, and we can pass them along to the regular customer success managers to continue their journey.
Okay. So I know that with customer success, you have a lot of interaction as well, and so my talk is going to be focused on the product, you know, interaction that's happening within the product. So your users, what their experience is within the product. And now for you, it might be that you're doing a lot of things off of the platform to supplement that journey or that experience. So we're going to be focused on the product, but we'll certainly think about how that can tie into what you're doing in your interactions with the users in CS. And Iman, hi, Iman, implementation specialist at Store Automator. Okay, is that a similar kind of product to the one Gareth has?
Same company.
Same company. Okay, cool. So there's two of you here. Awesome.
There's 5 of us here, believe it or not.
Oh, wow. Okay. So Gary, Honor, Iman.
Aicha. Yeah.
Okay, great. Lovely. It's good to see a whole team coming out. Fantastic. Okay, let's get cracking. So thanks for that. That's a nice bit of a welcome. I think I, got to know what you're doing and what you're working on. What we do is help with onboarding, like I said, from a product design perspective. So I won't talk about this too much, but if you need a call and you want to talk to me about a specific issue after this, or anytime after this session, then feel free. You can always book a chat through our website, useractive.io. So what we're going to look at in this session is, first of all, onboarding challenges. Then we're going to look at what does the optimal onboarding flow look like? What do you need to think about to deliver that? And then we can have Q&A. But like Brian said, if you have any questions, feel free to just put them in the chat. I'll address them as we go, and we'll still have time at the end to talk about some. So let's think about what are some common onboarding problems. So there's this big issue in SaaS. People are trying out lots of products. There are heaps of products out there. There's more choice than ever. It's getting more competitive. So what happens is this general stat across most of B2B SaaS is that 30% of users log in once and they never log in again. So it's pretty important to make an impact on that first time. You've got that chance to make an impact. Of course, you'll always have users that are just testing something without the intention of using a product. But what we want to do is reduce this percentage as much as possible. Another key issue with onboarding is that poor onboarding really, it does cause churn. It leads to churn because your user never gets to adopt the product. They don't develop habits. They don't experience success. And then their loyalty, isn't there. So it's actually the third most important reason that customers churn after, wrong product fit and lack of engagement. And another one is that there's a lot of competition in onboarding now. Okay, so 82% of enterprise organizations rate their onboarding approach as a key driver of value. So if you're in a space where there's a lot of self-service onboarding, really nice experiences and user flows, then it can mean that if users are trying out your product against another, then the likelihood is that they might pick the one that has the easiest flow to get up and running, right? So these are some of the key challenges. And now I like to give an analogy for onboarding in that it's a bit like an experience that you have in a 5-star hotel. And the reason that I like this analogy is because it makes it into something physical that we can all relate to, a physical experience that, most of us have had. What happens when you visit a 5-star hotel? So you might be, you've had a busy journey, you've been traveling, you've got bags, you arrive at a hotel, you're kind of stressed because you've got issues. You want to check in, you might have plans, you might want to relax as well if you've had a hectic day. So when you get there, first of all, you're impressed by the foyer, the lobby of this hotel. The next thing that jumps out is how attentive and friendly the staff are. So you're welcomed. Welcome. So we're looking forward to having you here. During your stay, they check you in, they take your bags. They also show you around, right? They might just make you aware of the facilities, gym, restaurants, things like this. They'll also let you know about any events that might be happening. And then they'll lead you to your room and talk about how you can get help or support during your stay, right? So all of these things are exactly what you need to do in your product. They're exactly the same. It's just a physical version of it. So people arrive to your product with a problem. You have to reassure them you're going to address that problem. You have to then show them around your product, tell them about the exciting things, tell them how to get help or how to get service if they need it, and then make sure that they are able to do the things that they want to do with your product once they're in there. So if you think about onboarding like the experience of arriving and checking into a 5-star hotel, it's a fairly good analogy for that. So let's jump into these steps for an optimal onboarding experience. So a bit like that hotel analogy. First thing you want to do is welcome your new user. Second thing is get them to visualize success with your product. So before you give them the friction of onboarding, there's a psychology exercise that you can do to get them to visualize success, get them to anticipate what they can achieve with your product. If you can get them excited about that, about this future scenario, it will help them get past friction that they're going to experience in the onboarding process. And there can be a lot of that. Some people need to, sometimes you might need a user to import a bunch of data or set up an integration. So there's always going to be some friction that you want to help get them past in this flow. Then you want to showcase the value in your product. Make sure they're aware of all the value, the key features that you have. Then you want to promote user habits. And finally, you can review your flow and see where the opportunities for reducing friction are. So we're going to look at some worksheets now of how you can go through that. But does anybody have any questions about the process or anything about how this relates to how you currently onboard right now?
I do one question. I'm curious. So when you think about low ticket versus high ticket SaaS sales and onboarding, and if I'm jumping ahead, please stop me. But what part can sales, because I'm on the sales side, what part can we play in this as well for the onboarding team in terms of prepping them?
I'm always coming from the product angle because I always work on that side, right? But one of the biggest ways that the sales can inform the product experience is by giving them that feedback that comes directly from the customer. You're in that unique position to get the user or the customer priorities and requirements and the reasons why they're going to buy. And once they get into the product experience, if that experience reflects and relates to everything that you've identified during that sales process as the most important thing to them, then there's a synergy right across from the sales right through to when they get into the product. It's consistent. Does that relate to what your question? Did you want to know more about how sales can help an onboarding team?
Yeah, I don't want to derail the conversation, but even just a couple of pointers there would probably be great for us.
Yeah. That part it's one of those things that I don't tend to work on with the onboarding, like customer success and onboarding team. It's always like within the product that we focus. But I think that they need to be really aligned. So the customer success and the support during onboarding, it really needs to be aligned with this workflow that the onboarding is taking them through within the product anyway.
Yeah, no, fair. And I like the idea that if we can communicate across, okay, here's the reason the customer is buying the product. Let's just say, being super specific to our example is they're having problems with errors from Amazon and Walmart. Then I guess part of the visualization is saying you're not going to be spending all these hours dealing with these because our system's going to fix them for you. So you're talking directly to their problem, I guess, in the onboarding too, right?
Right, exactly. They've been sold on, or they're looking to the solution to that problem when they get into the product. It's saying, hey, we're going to solve this issue for you. I mean, it's immediately they're like, oh, cool. This is, it's just real alignment from the product. The product experience aligns with the personal experience that they're getting through the sales process and the onboarding, customer success team. So here's like step one is welcoming your new user into the product. So I like to think of these three things that you can do during, if you're thinking about a welcome, you're showing appreciation for them giving your product a try. That's a big deal. They've decided to commit to trying out your product, giving it a trial or a demo, whatever that is. You want to provide some sense of confirmation that the product is the right choice for them. That touches on what we were just speaking about, Gareth. It's like, okay, we are hitting the important points of why they're buying the product, confirming that they're going to get what they're looking for, and then the expectation. It's about building anticipation of the results, or what the user can expect to get from the product. When we are designing within a product, we're always trying to give not just a great product experience, but put some personality, right? So good software often has personality. So it's a great exercise to think about how you want the user to feel during this process and tailor the onboarding towards creating those emotions within your user. You know, for Fedora with legal software, you're going to be looking for a very different feeling to somebody who's trying to maximize their sales on e-commerce, right? So onboarding can really set the tone and set the stage for that. Then just a few tips are, you know, use engaging video, GIFs as an alternative, frame your product as the solution to the problems, demonstrate value before asking for subscription. I know that sounds obvious, but I've seen a lot of early stage SaaS companies just landing the user straight into a pricing page, even during their trial, right? Their free trial. Personalize the welcome if you can. Different user profiles have different requirements. We often design several different onboarding flows tailored to what the user, what their task are, or what their role is. And also remove distractions. So we don't want to give them too many options. We want to take them through a linear path of adopting the product. So we've got this, I'm just using here an example of a SaaS, right? So we've got, say we're working with a learning management system here. We want to welcome the users. Thank you for signing up for Active LMS. How do we provide a confirmation that this product is going to solve their issues? Okay, so sometimes we might use stats or something. In this case, you'll be able to increase employee engagement by 155% and cut onboarding time in half. And the expectation is we'll help you set up your first training module in 30 minutes. So if you've got these kind of messages happening right at the onboarding, it's pretty powerful. So, you know, Gareth, for you, it might be something about increasing sales or reaching more platforms in less time, or optimizing your product listings. And then thinking about, you know, this messaging, thinking about the emotions that you have to. We often
Peter,
have. Yes.
Sorry, can I just jump in with a question there? Just with the expectation, is that always time bound? Like, is that within a certain time limit, or can that just be a bit more open ended? Like, what makes a really good expectation here?
Yeah, time is a good one because people value it, and it's also something that can be fairly easy to quantify, especially, you know, if we have X customer, you have a case study and you can demonstrate we help this customer achieve something in half the time. You can have an actual stat. But no, it doesn't have to be time. It can be increase of revenues. It can be a bit more arbitrary if you don't, you know, some products don't have an easy stat to provide. So yeah, it really varies product to product.
And Peter, this is Dora. Would that differ depending on your light touch versus higher touch customers? So we've got a very high touch onboarding where, you know, it's not really like an e-commerce where your end users are interacting. Here we have a set of admins, and then everybody else is just a consumer. So when I do my welcome messages, I'm welcoming them, making sure they understand what a great decision they made, and then put in next steps, which is the kickoff. And then in the kickoff, I put everything, but as far as expectations, timelines, you know, what have you, but not in the welcome message.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess we might put these in the product in a kind of self-serve onboarding flow. Okay. So you might get it something like here, we're thanking the user for the sign up, and then we may have another screen where we're just saying, or a video, we might put this within a video. So you just welcome them and say, hey, did you know, you're going to be able to achieve this? But for you, your welcome email, for instance, after they've signed up and you're just trying to confirm or reaffirm that they've made a really good choice, it could always be a message to put in there. So I don't think it's too prescriptive on where this is, but we put this in the product if we can. If we get a good message like that, we'll put this right in the product flow, and it would be for light touch or that longer, more intensive onboarding process for enterprise or however it might be.
Okay, thank you.
So the next thing we're going to do, we've welcomed them, we're trying to get them excited about the product experience. We want them to visualize success. So has anyone heard of this concept of, you've got this is quite common in sales, right? You've got the buyer in their area of pain, or they have a problem, and you're trying to get them to the solution. So you take them on a journey. Your product or your service is the conduit, or the mechanism that gets them from their problem state to their ideal state. I've heard this being termed before as island of sad and island of happy. And then your product is the thing, the vehicle to get them from their problem to their ideal scenario. So in this exercise, and Gareth, in your sales process, you're going to be like really clear on this, right? Because you know the pain points, the problem. You've probably spoken with prospects through this a whole number of times. And you get an idea of that ideal scenario. What's the their visualization of a successful state in relation to this problem. This is a really good exercise to help you just list out what the key steps are that the user needs to take in your product to get them from A to B. Now, these key steps become essentially things or touch points within your onboarding that you need to communicate, because these are the stepping stones. So if you can communicate that within the onboarding, then you almost have a structure for what you're going to present in the onboarding and how. So let's go back to our learning management system, right? Say they have a problem of they need to train new employees on repetitive tasks. It's time consuming and disengaging. So typical pain points might be inefficiencies, high employee turnover, lack of a system to do this, no visibility or engagement. So you can see how a good HR platform or a good onboarding management platform, in this case it's a learning management platform, can help a user to help a company to solve these issues, right? So that ideal scenario is that new employees are trained faster, they're more engaged, they're aware of their requirements of their role and tasks that they do. Efficiency increases, workflow mistakes reduce. So in order to get to this, you're thinking about the steps they need to take, and often these steps relate to activation of certain features that you might have in your product. So learning management systems have things like quizzes, have things like contact records with it might have an activity feed for what each employee has done. Might have results and stats on their training performance. So you can, if you do this exercise for your product, you can start to see what are the steps in your product, and it helps to prioritize, what those steps are and the order in which your user needs to take them to get from A to B, right? In this presentation, I've got a few examples of design. We've got just, hundreds of onboarding flows that we've designed. And if we want to talk about some examples, I can dig them out of Figma and share them, during this session. But this one is an example of showing a future state, visualizing success. So First Promoter is an affiliate software for SaaS companies. They can, in just a few steps, they can track, manage, optimize referral marketing programs. So, I mean, this is a very simple way. We could elaborate this on a lot more and talk about time saving and actual revenue. But we're in this step, we're welcoming the user, but we're also getting them to visualize, right, I can do, I can build a referral marketing program and, optimize this and develop new channels. It's really just a message to highlight the value in the very first step of their onboarding.
But that's thing, right? I like the fact that it highlights the benefits, not the features, right? It mentions features, but it's here's a benefit if you use this, to its capacity.
Right. That's it. So this is one thing we do. It's like feature benefit mapping. So in these steps, you might be talking about features or tasks, but when you get to talk about these features, you talk about the benefit, and then there's actually behind each benefit, there's a feature that does this really neatly. So it kind of ties in. I like the fact that you spotted that. So here's another one. This is a platform for recruiting, but what it does is it sends out vacancies out to wider networks. It lets people refer jobs on, so that if they refer a successful candidate, they earn a commission. So welcome to Job Refer. Increase your reach when sourcing suitable applicants by setting awards for referrals. You can, with Job Refer, your job promotion can be made on a one-to-one or one-to-many basis, increasing your reach to a wider audience. So this is a key problem for recruiters. It's just the reach and where they can find good candidates. The job market often, you have some of the best candidates are not necessarily job hunting, and they come from referrals, or actively being approached in the marketplace. So this really supports that exercise, basically. So again, we're just talking about the overall value and the future, success scenario that users are going to experience with the product. So here's touching, Gareth, this is the point that you just mentioned. So we're showcasing product value, right? The key thing here is the value. So we've looked at the steps of getting the user from the island of sad to the island of happy. And in this exercise, we can list those pain points out. Okay, so we listed them as pain points. And then we're going to map a feature in your product to the pain point. Then we're going to describe the benefit of that feature. So we don't necessarily have to talk about the pain points, and we don't have to talk about the features, but we know that they're all mapped, right? But when we talk about the benefits, the user knows immediately. They're like, this does that thing, and we've been having a problem with that. Then they go to the next, it's going to do this for us too. So because we've done the exercise to map them all out. So for our learning management system, we're looking at getting employees to follow systems for repetitive tasks. Okay, there's a checklist feature for this, task checklists. So the way we're going to present that to new users in onboarding is that employees can now see the steps and check them off each time they perform repetitive tasks. I think that benefit could be written in a better way. They can even be improved, but it does, it touches on an issue that they have. So the key thing is doing that for all of your pain points that relate to features. And I think, are you all familiar with jobs to be done? You must, I imagine most people in SaaS and startup world love these kind of frameworks. And this is a really good one, especially for us with product designers, because we're really designing for these kind of outcomes. So in this step, we've got a clear idea of the features that we want to promote and how we want to present them during onboarding. But in this step, we want to start thinking about how we actually promote habits for the user to adopt these features, to activate these features. So we start thinking about it in terms of jobs to be done. So we list out all of the jobs to be done for the users and in terms of priority. So for our learning management system, our new customers, an enterprise account, they need to publish a course to train new team members on how to deliver customer support. So this might go out to hundreds of their employees, their customer support staff. And then we list out the steps, right? So what, in order to achieve this, they have to go through these steps within the product, create an outline, write the modules, review and share, publish, and then finally distribute. So there's quite a lot of work that goes into it. Now, in order to promote the user in terms of like using this and like getting through this process, we need to make that product experience engaging. So it helps us to think about designing a product experience that facilitates this in an enjoyable way, an engaging way, and pushes them through that process. You know, we're looking to build habits. Then finally, the last step that I like to talk about is reducing the friction during onboarding. So this concept of time to value, I think you might be familiar with that as well. How do we get them value in the fastest possible time? And how do we remove friction? So there's a lot of steps that you have friction during that process. So personalization can be one. Two of the biggest ones that I see occurring a lot are integrations that are required. Gareth, I expect that there's a big deal with integrations for your platform. Is that right? I suppose you have to integrate with like Amazon, Shopify, all of these different commerce platforms, I would expect.
Yeah, I think that's a key question for us as well. I was just about to type it into the chat is, so typically a customer might have 10,000 products. They want to integrate with 8 different channels. So are we better off, and again, these are things we're thinking through internally as well, but are we better off just getting into one channel first because that's your quickest time to value, or try and do everything simultaneously and bring them to the point where you're transferring their entire business over, which is the full time to value? And again, these are the bits and pieces we're wrestling with.
Yeah, it's almost, if it's a huge task, it almost seems like it might work to do it incrementally. Get them some value, get something working well, and then do you do it in that way?
It tends to be mixed, and I think, you know, not talking for the team, but I usually do, is that we tend to be too nice in terms of we let the customer decide the onboarding timeline a little bit more than we should. That's my impression, right? Yeah. So some customers will follow the process, no problem. Other customers will have their own agenda, and we tend to go along with that. Whereas I think we should be much more fixed in terms of how we progress through the onboarding. As I said, clear milestones, clear customer as well. Yeah, that's what we struggle with a little bit.
Systemizing and standardizing it based on
that. And we can't grow without that, Peter, right?
Yeah, I get, and you know, that's ultimately that's what SaaS is. It's, isn't it, taking workflows and automating them, and that can happen at any point in the product journey too. So maybe there's a case for doing it there. But yeah, I know that part that you have to deal with is potentially sounds like a complex experience. So what we do, like from a product design point of view, is that we'll make sure that we design a self-serve, as much as possible, self-serve way for the user to complete these integrations, and if they're struggling, get the support that they need. So we always focus, and I mean, there's a lot that you might do outside of the product, but we focus like on inside of the product, getting that as smooth as possible. And the reason we always do that is because obviously that's the system. It's going to be less resource intensive for any team, you know, which is going to be more expensive. And then we're able to standardize it and always then optimize more. So if you're interested, I can show you an integration flow that was fairly complex for First Promoter that I mentioned earlier. It's parallel.
Yeah, can we see that? That'd be awesome.
Yeah. let's jump into that. Okay, so it ties in really well with this actually, because I'm talking about integration here. So what I'll do is I'll jump into, I'll jump into Figma. I'll show you a flow like this. I think that will be in there. So I'll just highlight again what I was talking about while this loads. Sometimes these files get fairly big. In signing up for First Promoter, the customer needs to integrate with their, well, first of all, they need to put a script on their website. Then, so this starts tracking the website. Then they need to integrate with their payment provider and with any sales platform that they've got that's actually selling their product, and their accounting tool. So we do a flow like this. So like the job is like, how do we make this as self-service as possible, that we remove the requirement for customer support, customer success interaction. So first of all, we're saying, okay, which category is your company in? Great, it's in SaaS. Which billing platform do you use? This is straightforward. We're just getting the information. This is almost a qualifying exercise as well, because there are bad fit customers for First Promoter. So, and then, okay, your billing platform. So they've got Stripe. So they've got Stripe. We're just searching. Some of these are different states, showing different UI states for the same screens. So say they have they're not using a platform and they don't have a developer and they're not a SaaS company. So we actually say to them, hey, we're sorry, but actually you're not a good fit for the product. This is qualifying customers out, because what happens is that they become a bad fit. They have a bad experience. They actually take up some customer support time.
And just so we're clear as well, Peter, this is a self-sign up too. There hasn't been any sales engagement before this, most likely, right?
This can be like completely product led. This one, I think I'll have to ask Virgil, but I think they do have obviously a lot of discussions, but this is designed to be completely product led as possible. So if they are a good fit, then we let them sign up. Okay, so they've got a form for signing up. Then we're showing them, we're just like, okay, great, successful. I'm going to go fairly quick through some of this. So remember, we're talking about the features. We're mapping features to benefits, right? Here we're talking about those benefits. So we're saying, hey, you get a branded affiliate dashboard. That's powerful. It enables affiliates to do a better job selling, right? Time-saving commission adjustments. This is really common, right? There's different commissions for different tiers of sales, different quantities of sales through each channel partner. That can get messy. You can pay your affiliates easy with one click. There's fraud protection. It's the big concern, people are reselling your product. And this is a key one, ease of integration. So we just like hitting those pain points, those kind of psychology pain points. Then there's some things we need to do to get them started. So we want them to start thinking about setting up the first campaign. These are like the jobs to be done, like we're trying to get them through that step. So this is a different flow. We need them to enter some information. We need them to brand the platform so that they can use the affiliate dashboards for their affiliates. Now we're getting them to do the integrations. This is the sticky part, which is painful for a lot of they lost quite a lot of signups from this. So they've selected Stripe. We're going to ask them to connect. Okay, that's the easy one. Stripe makes that easy too. So you can log in Stripe, that connects. Okay, next we're going to integrate with their website. Often the website might have a builder. So they select what it is. Then we talk them through adding scripts. So we get really descriptive, a step-by-step guide on how you do it. Then you can if they think they've done it, they can then test the flow. Okay, and we give them some feedback as to how that test went. They have to enter their URL. They test. Okay, this is a common scenario. So the test fails. They haven't put the script in the right place or whatever it is. So we're troubleshooting. We're giving them options for to see script instructions again. Troubleshooting what are the common issues. Then we've got a live chat and a knowledge base. Now there's this. Okay, they might resolve that, and then like congrats, it's connected. Now, I know this gets quite involved because this is a big flow. So they have to then set up. If they have a problem with this and they need to invite a developer, we facilitate that too. So we don't, we're not like everything they can do right here in the product. They can go, okay, you need to invite a developer. They put in their developer email and it will send an invite to the developer. When the developer logs in, the developer gets their own onboarding flow for this. So there's a lot of work that's gone into it. Great. Okay, so the developer has an invite. We let them know that. And then here we go, the developer's flow. Okay, what's your tech stack? Here's instructions for the developer. Then we're going to go through guide for the developer to do their job. So this flow, you can see like everything's accounted for. All of the kind of problems that they might get are accounted for, and troubleshooting. Now, it's easy to do that when you know the flow really well. Okay, so you've done this lots of times, you know the problems in the onboarding flow, and then you can design a self-serve flow for this. They're still going to get some issues, right? Still going to have moments where a user struggles. But we've done the most handheld way you can do it within a product. So that's just an example of how that might materialize for onboarding when you work on those 5 steps that we outlined.